Alright, fellow hunters, time for the penultimate episode of Read the Day, which is Mystery Spot. Sam wakes up in a motel room to heat of the moment by Asia, where he finds Dean already up and getting dressed. Dean goes through a long and irritating morning bathroom routine, and they go to the local diner for breakfast. Sam tells about the man that disappeared at the Broward County Mystery Spot. Dean orders a Tuesday special pick and poke with a side of bacon, and as the waitress serves their coffee, she accidentally drops a bottle of hot sauce on the floor. As Sam and Dean walk down the city block discussing Mystery Spot, they run across a barking golden retriever, a blonde woman who Dean bumps into, and movers struggling to get a desk inside a building. When night falls, they break into the tacky tourist trap after hours, but as they're wandering through the halls, the owner approaches them with a shotgun. The gun goes off by mistake, and the bullet hits Dean square in the chest. Sam frantically rushes over to Dean and tearfully holds him as he dies. Sam looks up to Asia again and sees Dean just like he did the day before, teasing him by turning up the song, lip-syncing, and bobbing his head to the beat. The same scene trying to replace, but failing Sam, who catches the hot sauce from falling this time. They run across the dog, the woman, and the movers again while Sam convinces Dean to check out the Mystery Spot now instead of later. Dean agrees, steps out into the street, and flies through the air in spectacular fashion when a speeding car hits him. Sam rushes to his side and is again traumatized by holding his dead brother in his arms. Asia plays again. Arnold Sam watches Dean go through the same morning gargle. He tells Dean in the diner that he's stuck in a time loop like Groundhog Day and that Dean is going to die. Back on the sidewalk, dog, woman, movers, and just before Dean steps out on the street, Sam pulls him back, telling him the car hit him yesterday. They go to the Mystery Spot, posing as reporters, only to get an act from the owner while Sam gets very irritated. Dean concludes that as long as it doesn't die, they will break the time loop. As Sam agrees, Dean steps forward, and the disc from earlier ends up falling on him, crushing one like Coyote style. Sam looks on in horror as Asia plays again. At the diner, Sam is very anxious, again telling Dean about his time loop problem. Dean promises he won't and tries to break his cycle by ordering sausage instead of bacon, but proceeds to choke. Dean takes a shower and Sam hears Dean yell in a thud. They're eating tacos and Dean asks if they taste funny. Dean's electrocuted by plugging in his razor. Sam and Dean go back at the Mystery Spot, duck to be toward a chair, and Sam tears apart the place with an axe. Dean tries to get the axe away from Sam. They fight, blood spurts, and Sam cries for Dean. By this time, Sam is extremely agitated. In the diner, Dean orders a Tuesday special again, and Sam tells Doris, the waitress, to clock some hours into the archery range because she has a terrible shot, thus implying Dean died this way. He tells Dean angrily that this is the 100th Tuesday. He proves this way by repeating what Dean says at exactly the same time and talks about the other patrons in the diner, not to mention catching the hot sauce again. Again, they see the dog, the old man looking for his keys, which Sam took earlier, and a woman bumping into them. Dean shoots after the woman and finds that she has flyers of the man they're looking for. He asks Sam why 100 Tuesdays he didn't find out that she is the man's daughter. Sam chases after her to ask questions, while Dean goes to pet the dog. Growling and mauling ensue. At the diner, Sam, on his computer, discovers that their missing man debunks tourist traps. He's barely Papa's ass, and Dean points out that it's just desserts that a man goes to mystery spots. That a man goes out to get mystery spots, disappears in one. Sam notices the man who has been having pancakes every day, orders different kind of syrup, which is the first change to happen. Asia plays, and Sam wakes up with both revelation and fury. In the diner, the pancake man leaves, and Sam goes after him. He corners him in the alley and holds a wooden stake to his neck, telling him he finally figured out why he was repeating Tuesdays and watching Dean die every day. Dean starts off to say confused by what's happening. Sam says that they have killed one of his kind before, and the mentor's in the trickster and tells him they didn't before calling him chuckleheads. The trickster admits it's funny killing Dean every day, but that this time the joke's on Sam, so he finally get the point that he can't save his brother. Sam threatens to kill him, but the trickster says the joke is off and takes him to Wednesday with a snap of his fingers. Sam wakes to a different song, Back in Time. It's later to see Dean alive and that it is Wednesday. They pack up to leave, and Dean goes out to the car first when he's held up by gunpoint by one of the diner patrons. Sam hears a gunshot and rushes to see Dean on the ground, shot in the chest and dead. He holds Dean in his arms and closes his eyes, dismayed when nothing changes, before starting to sob. A very dark montage starts with Sam driving the Impala, a distant look on his face. He's been hunting alone across the country for 6 months, pulling off some big kills, while Bobby leaves him a set of messages asking him to call, mentioning that he hasn't heard from Sam in 3 months and is worried. Sam arrives at a motel, and the weapons he and Paul are now organized in foam casing. Without expression, Sam fixes his own gunshot wound inside the room, cutting off his shirt, picking up the bullet and stitching himself up. He eats alone, cleans the gun while examining with a cold stare at the set of pictures on the wall, tracking the trickster, and makes the bed in meticulous fashion after waking. He brushes his teeth and stares in the mirror at a reflection that is defeated and emotionally dead inside. Finally, a message from Bobby plays in the background, claiming that he has found the trickster. Sam goes to Bobby at the mystery spot, and Bobby tells him that in order to pull off the summoning ritual, they will need a gallon of fresh blood, meaning they have to bleed someone dry. Sam coolly tells Bobby he'll go find some, and Bobby is appalled that Sam is willing to kill an innocent person. Bobby gets a knife and tells Sam to kill him instead. Sam agrees, but from behind, Sam pulls out a wooden stick and stabs him through the heart, saying he's not Bobby. The trickster emerges and tells Sam he is right. Sam tearfully begs the trickster to bring back Dean. The trickster says that Sam should let him go because Dean will always be his weakness. His enemies know it, and nothing good will come of their sacrifices for each other, only pain. He says, "This is what it will be like without Dean." Sam still begs, and the trickster comments that it's like talking to a brick wall. He then snaps his fingers and it's the fake reality that Sam was living in. Sam wakes up in the motel room with Back in Time playing on the radio. Dean is there, and a shaken Sam gets up and gives Dean a huge hug. They leave together, and Sam is somber, deeply affected by his experience. He sees the unmade bed and realizes the life without Dean will still happen. So now let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. The filming for this episode takes place in Stevenson, British Columbia. As well as being used to resemble Broward County, Florida, this location doubles as another area of magical interest. Storybrooke, the town in which all fairy tale characters live in Once Upon a Time. Dean mentions that the idea of the time warp is Dingo and My Baby Crazy, a reference to the death of a 9-week-old Australian baby girl named Azaria Chamberlain, who had been taken from her family's tent and killed by dingoes during a camping trip at Uluru in 1980. Dingo Save My Baby may also be a reference to the band of the same name of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This episode is similar to the song Kaguru Days, as Dean repeatedly dies and gets resurrected on the same day multiple times while Sam has to watch. This episode bears similarity to an episode of Xena Warrior Princess. In the said episode, Xena is stuck in a time loop that resets whenever Hermia dies. Similar stories are that both Dean and Joxer start the day with the same code every day until the loop is broken, while Sam and Xena eventually adapt to the accidents that have to go through the day and stop them before they would happen. Word games, Sam speaking perfect unison with Dean and Xena rapidly answering the questions before they were being asked. Eventually apathy to death of blue-blue characters. Sam being more annoyed than saddened with Dean's latter deaths, and Xena performed calculations while Riot rages around her, while Xena killing Jux out of rage before being woken up. As well as a slightly different Real Tomorrow. Back in Time plays this at heat of the moment, and Jux brings turnip instead of goose eggs for breakfast. Somewhat similar to in the case of the alternate future in the end, it's unknown whether the time loop and the post-loop alternate timeline where Dean stays dead are real or an elaborate illusion. Worth noting is that the alternate timeline lasts for really 6 months and Dean remains dead, whereas in the main timeline, Dean was resurrected for only 4 months. Jared Padalecki regards this episode as one of his least favorites, says he had to cry all week and it was emotionally taxing. Justin Ackles says Hit by Taco was his favorite death scene. So overall, this is definitely one of my favorite episodes of the show and also one of my favorite episodes in the season. And yeah, just everything that Sam had to go through and that, well, quote-unquote timeline where Dean was dead for 6 months. Yeah, that was really harsh. So yeah. So overall, I give Mystery Spot 5 Impalas out of 5. Anyway, tune in bed as we take a look at the final episode of the day, Just in Bello. So, until then, carry on, my wayward sons and daughters.